Welcome to the overview conference call for iMarket Research Corporation's 3Q 2010 Global and Regional GPS Navigation and Location-Based Services Forecast. On this call, we have Mr. Nizar Hassani, Vice President of Research at iMarket Research Corporation, and Mr. David Williams, Independent Contributing Analyst at IMR, CEO of E911 LBS Globe, and formerly Product Manager LBS Solutions at AT&T.
Thank you, David, for taking this call and for reviewing our 3Q 2010 Global and Regional GPS Navigation and Location-Based Services Forecast. I'm going to jump right into the questions. IEMR's models and surveys show that the total market for GPS navigation and location-based services is set to exceed $13.4 billion in 2014, a CAGR of 51% for the next 5 years. We are also forecasting that the total number of users accessing GPS navigation and LBS services will exceed 1.6 billion by 2014. What, in your opinion, are the key global drivers for this growth over the next 5 years?
Thank you. First and foremost, I believe, is the ever-growing penetration and adoption of wireless services and their adoption in even the least developed countries. This is followed rapidly by the growing ubiquity of GPS devices that are serving those markets, and in turn followed by increasing comfort levels with the concepts of GPS and LBS in those mass markets.
Right. Any further insights into that? Can you give us examples of what's happening in some of these markets?
Well, certainly navigation has consistently been the leader in being essentially the first GPS or LBS related service in pretty much all countries. And then depending upon the circumstances of the particular countries involved, the next round, if you will, of applications that seem to be most prevalent are around people tracking, particularly around, say, children tracking. So as the various markets essentially start to develop and evolve towards LBS-related applications, those proven winners, if you will continue to drive the overall growth in the various markets.
Right. Okay. We are forecasting that location-enabled search and advertising will see the biggest growth among the different GPS LBS verticals, growing at a CAGR of 131% over the next 5 years. From your field experience, what are the key developments globally in location-enabled search and advertising, both from a carrier perspective as well as an applications development perspective that will result in this explosive growth over the next 5 years?
Part of that growth percentage is due to its small current size, frankly, making relatively small revenue growth seem large from a CAGR perspective. That said, though, I think the biggest driver will be the evolving mindset of the average consumer to do things and see things on their mobile devices that they've been doing for years on their PC. From a carrier perspective, carriers, particularly in the North American market, are becoming much more open to making available location information to a broad range of applications, as opposed to their very kind of tight-fisted closed mindset that has been kind of the trend for the last few years. And so that opening up of location information will also benefit all forms of application categories, particularly local search and advertising, as numbers of those kinds of firms and those various kinds of business models come onto the market and become available to potential consumers through the openness of the location platform that carriers are pursuing currently.
Right, and the applications development perspective?
That's going to be interesting to see what kind of models will be successful. Clearly, there's the pure advertising-based model. There's subscription-based models, combinations thereof. And so I think it's too soon to see which of the model or models will win out. And then there is also the question of the type of application, whether a specific kind of Google-like mass search type and advertising engine will be if not the only winner, or if there will be a variety of essentially niche search and advertising type things, so that you have say you have an outdoor a search engine, or sports, or those kind of channels, if you will, whether that kind of application model will become prevalent. So I think it's wild, wild west at this point, and it'll be very interesting to see how it develops.
Right. Okay. IEMR is forecasting that total spend on voice-guided automobile GPS navigation will rise to $3 billion in 2014, a CAGR of 30.1%, which lags the overall market. What, in your opinion, is driving the global demand for voice-guided car navigation, and do you think that recent announcements by different vendors like NG Connect with Alcatel, Lucent, and Toyota and other vendors and car companies will have any traction among consumers?
In terms of the 30% growth lagging, it's kind of a mirror answer to the local search and advertising question. Voice-guided GPS navigation is becoming a quote-unquote maturing business, at least on a relative basis. So 30% CAGR for a quote mature business, particularly in these economic times, is nothing to sneeze at. Again, having said that, navigation in general is at risk of becoming a commoditized product, and so vendors will need to continue to innovate while dropping prices at the same time, which obviously is a challenging proposition. Car companies, I believe, will continue to push navigation as a standard offering deeper and deeper into their product line, meaning even into their least expensive cars, which will be positive in terms of expanding the addressable market, but will continue to put cost pressures on the vendors to continue to innovate while decreasing costs.
Right, okay. Excellent, thank you. We'd like to focus a little bit on regional developments and deployments. In North America, what in your view are some of the exciting LBS GPS navigation developments in North America that will see this market expand to a $4.3 billion market in 2014?
Well, the first thing is from a platform standpoint, where particularly around the GSM carriers. CDMA carriers, of course, have had GPS in their handsets for several years, prodded by the FCC 911 mandate. But it's only recently that GSM standards has been developed around GPS, and decisions have been made by the North American GSM carriers to effectively swap out their device base over a number of years to essentially all GPS-based type devices. So that sets the stage for effectively half of the North American market in the form of GSM to essentially join the LBS party, if you will. Another key factor or exciting development, I would say, is becoming what I would call carrier interoperability of multi-party applications such as social networking. So if you've got, so right now inhibiting multi-party applications, meaning if you wanted to do some mobile social networking with your friend Joe, right now you both have to be on the same carrier network. Obviously that's a hindrance in many cases. So there's definitely a push among the multi-party application providers, and the carriers are starting to go along with that, of essentially putting together a location interoperability capability to allow sharing of location information and other information across applications, across carrier networks. And then finally, kind of on a macro basis, it's from a society standpoint, you can almost say, is that the social acceptance and penetration of wireless services into seemingly almost all aspects of our society continues to grow. It's almost a kind of an ongoing revolution in terms of how wireless has changed it's changing our society. And of course, location-related services are going to be a big part of that.
Right, okay. Thank you very much for that. Moving on to another region, we'll focus on Asia Pacific. Our usage surveys show that there is significant traction in the Asia Pacific region for GPS and LBS services. We are forecasting a market of about $3.2 billion in 2014. What might be driving growth in this industry in key markets, particularly the mature markets like Japan and South Korea, but also some of the emerging markets, the big ones being India and China?
The drivers for growth and adoption of LBS services in Japan and South Korea in particular closely resemble those in the U.S. in North America in terms of navigation and various flavors of navigation, such as, for example, pedestrian navigation that may not be as big in North America. And actually in some services like children tracking, those countries were actually earlier in deployment of those kinds of services than the U.S. or North American markets were. Other markets just now getting into LBS in a significant way, such as India, China, and Africa, will roughly follow the path of the more developed countries with respect to LBS services, starting with navigation-related services, and then from that they will follow probably slightly different paths depending on the appetite for applications and the nature of those applications that would vary based on factors such as culture, business and economic climate, and the like, to determine the subsequent application winners. In the U.S., for example, the first winners after navigation were family tracking and business applications, particularly around worker tracking, mobile resource management type things. Those kinds of, that path, if you will likely vary from a country basis based on the factors that I described earlier.
Right, excellent. Thank you very much for your insights, and we hope to hear further from you in the future. Thank you.